So, well, my presentation, it's about some little presentation manager samples I was compiling and the learning process since I'm not a developer, okay? But first, I need to do a quick reminder of some of the OS2 World projects. First is the OS2 World web page that when I post the news, we have the forum with all the people asking questions. We have the chat that is with Matrix that only works on newer browsers like double. Is double or double? Double. It's pronounced double. Okay. And also I created the mailing list on groups.io. So when Yahoo Groups went down, we quickly created that on Groups.io, and we tried to move all the people to Groups.io for the mailing list. I don't know if everybody knows that mailing list, or okay, we have the mailing list also there. The other thing that I like is the OS2 World Wiki. When I try to consolidate all the information, all articles I can find out about OS2 and all the non-related development articles, okay? And here where I put the tutorials, the hardware reports. When someone grabs a new laptop and try to install ArcaOS on that laptop, I always say, oh, bring me the hardware report, the PCI.exe report, so we can try to make a little wiki page about that laptop, that computer, or any other device. If you try some USB device and it works, okay, let's put it on the wiki, just for people to be able to find it and search for it, okay? So for descriptions, all newsletters, I like also to put all newsletters there. Sometimes there are good information on all newsletters. And what I put on red there is the courseware, or the IBM courseware, or the documentation that IBM used to hand out to students when they have like unofficial training. I'm trying to find those. They are very hard to find. It was from, I don't know, from the 90s, on the ages that when we had paper and the PDF was not famous as today. So there are a lot of documentation that is still on paper that I cannot get, that I cannot find. Okay, so if anybody has some on their basement some documentation about some course that they made with IBM, let me know. We will try to scan it, and I will ask for permission to IBM to put it online. Okay, that's what I have courseware on red. And ADM2 that is hosted on NetLabs. Here we put everything that is software development related, all the articles, the API documentation, everything we try to put it just there, and samples and everything. And the OS2 World GitHub. I created the OS2 World as an organization on GitHub, and I try to upload everything, every piece of source code that I can, that is public, that is open source. I try to put it there so we can have a reference that can be searched, that is indexed, can be searched, can be you can find the source code, you can search inside the project. So there are a lot of projects there. It doesn't mean that there are like 2,000 active projects. No, it's just the source code, but it is good that we can search and we can try to get some reference, okay? And the last one that I showed last year, that is the hubs reorganization, that I think it's almost complete. Now what I'm doing is little by little trying to find the software that is public, that is the demos, shareware that we are missing, and trying to put it on hubs, so we can have it on a centralized repository, okay? And using the file naming standard that I already told last year, that well, it was a polemic issue, but at least it's now organized there, okay? So everything that is freeware, shareware, open source, public domain, I try to put it also in hubs, only the latest version. And it was kind of like, well, this is kind of like an OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder job. Like when you say, oh, I want to have all the software and try to have all the versions, I have like 50 gigabytes of OS2 software in my hard drive with the different versions of software, and hubs only have the latest version that it will be like 15 gigabytes in total, okay? But it's kind of like an OCD job, like, oh, let's try to grab this, let's find this on the Internet Archive, let's see this old CD with shareware. So I'm trying to go easy on this one because you can get obsessed with that, okay? Now let's go back to the subject about compiling samples. Yeah, sure.
Have you contacted Hobbs? Do you have a relationship with them?
What, with?
Have you contacted Hobbs? Do you have a relationship with them?
It's not like I have a relationship. I have like some communication with Archiver, and he does something from time to time and upload a file telling him move this folder from here to here and try to rename this, but I don't have any kind of special access. And he helps me, I think, that when he has the time to help me. Yeah.
What's the future of Hobbs?
I have no idea. I don't know the internals of Hobbs, of how is the relationship between the person that maintains the server with the rest of the university. I know it's on the New Mexico University, but I really don't have that information, and I only try to organize the site. Okay. Yeah.
Is it backed up anywhere?
Yes, last year before I started, well, 3 years ago before I started the reorganization project, going back here, sorry. I made a backup of Hobbs and uploaded it on the Internet Archive.
I think there's also a whole backup on OS2 cycles.
And since Hobbs is FTP, there are a lot of sites that just go to the FTP and copy everything. But just in my case, I prefer to have a backup on Internet Archive, and just in case. And I have also a second backup on Internet Archive with all the versions. That is like the bigger version of Hobbs with all the old stuff. Yeah.
Because we have to think all the time about catastrophic failures. They happen.
Yeah, it may happen. So if you want to backup Hobbs, also backup it, because
I'm backing up my own.
Yeah. We don't know. I tried to put it in several places just in case. Okay. So now, this is the presentation about compiling some presentation manager samples. And why I wanted to do this, first, I never was able to learn software development on OS2 environment. When I learned in college, I learned on some things on DOS, and then we switched to Windows, and Windows 95. That was like the time I was on college, and I never was able to learn in OS2. So I wanted to see, okay, how hard or how easy will be to get the environment, no? So that is the second point. So building the environment was really hard on the past. Yeah, when you try to say, okay, I'm going to develop software on OS2. Oh, where is the CD? Which software do you have? Where do you get that software? That was very hard. We're going to see how it is today. And also, I wanted to try to go as much as possible with open source software for the development tools. So that was like my goal. Let's see if we can do everything with open source. So don't run with the hassle of trying to find some old CD on eBay, some old software somewhere else. So let's try to go with open source, and I want to be able to produce an executable file, okay? So the idea was to grab a lot of the OS2 open source samples and try to compile with open source development software. Okay, that's why and it helped me a lot that I have the other project, the GitHub, the OS2 World GitHub project, where I had been uploading source codes from also 5 years ago that I've been doing that. And once I tried to compile it, let's publish the results and I will make available the source code to the public. Okay, that was just the idea. So the software, the weapons of choice, of course, was the compiler. First is GCC, that is the GNU, yes, or the new compiler, C compiler that usually converts language code text into binary files or executable files. The make tool, that is the tool that generates, that controls the generation of executables, that has all the procedural list of how to construct the executable files. Then we needed some libraries for the C libraries, that is the libc -devel, and bind utilities that has some executable software that is required. And also, yeah, this is the polemic part. Okay, I use the Watcom W-link tool as the linker. That is that basically the linker is that on the execution in the compiling process, it takes the object code generated by the compiler and combine it with the necessary libraries to produce the executable files. Okay, that's the definition of a linker. Okay, I don't know why we have a linker, but it's required. Okay, and the second tool that we need is the resource compiler. This is like for OS2, we need the resource compiler so we can grab so we can convert the menu definitions, the icon declarations, some other stuff. We need to convert it also and I also prefer to choose the Watcom resource compiler. Why did I choose the Watcom resource compiler when in OS2 we have the IBM resource compiler that is free, and a lot of people tell me that it's better, but for this thing that I wanted to do, I wanted to go or try to go as much as open source possible. And they told me the Watcom resource compiler is open source, so let's give it a try. And they told me also the IBM resource compiler is better, but it's closed source. It cannot be improved with time. The Watcom resource compiler, if it has bugs, at least we have the source code to try to fix it. Okay, so that's why I go this way. And also I tried the Watcom IPFC compiler. That is the one that compiles the information files, the INF files, to generate those. So I tried to do that. And JIT, that is the software to check in and check out the source code from a repository. Okay. And the first thing that was very hard at the beginning with OS2 was setting the environment. It was a really pain in the ass long ago to set a development compiler. So the dream is like, okay, I just put a yum command and everything gets installed and configured, and I don't have to worry about how to set up the environment. And it almost worked. Yeah, it almost worked. With running this command, you have a very good GCC development environment ready for use, with the exception of the next page, that some little things were missing on the configs. The set include include C is not exactly that it's missing, but sometimes when you install with RPM, it got deleted and replaced for other things, especially if you try to install the OS2 toolkit from RPM. So you have to be aware that the set include is there, okay? So you have to double check that. But the rest, the set EMX stuff, you need to put it up by hand, okay, on the configs. So now you're saying the linker is no longer the default linker. You're going to use the Watcom linker, the second two, and the last two is where you say you're going to use the Watcom resource compiler, okay?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
When you use the Arca
installation utility, and you installed those three Wacom-related things.
Okay.
What did that do? Did that actually install the Wacom linker, or did it set up these variables, or what happens when you run that?
For what I know, when you run the ArcaOS package manager or Jump, it only takes the files and put it on your system.
But it actually, you don't need to install Wacom in order to use the Wacom linker?
No. The open Wacom IDE for software development, no.
And that's what that does, is install that, but then it doesn't do this.
No, it doesn't do this.
Okay.
But the other command, this command, when you install it with Jump, it only installs the linker and, well, first the resource compiler, then the linker, and then the thing that compiles the IP, the information file. Okay?
And is that the version 2, you know, that beta guide? Does anybody know?
Yes, that's it's the newest.
Okay.
Okay. But no, I haven't used the Open Wacom compiler, and I don't know how to use it yet.
And is this documented anywhere? Because this is what drives you crazy when you're trying to set this stuff up.
I got help from the forums, on the OS2 World Forum.
Yeah,
I
right.
got my thread that I'm trying to compile some presentation manager files, and Dave Dale helped me. Also, Rich Walsh helped me, and Lars Erdman, right? Yeah.
And how would you find out what those forums are?
Well,
World.
it's OS2 World Forum on the development part, yeah.
And how do you get to that? Use the web, or what do you do?
Yeah, you can go on OS2world.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that works in the OS2 browser?
Yeah,
That's it.
All right.
yeah. It's the OS2 World Forum is a web-based forum. Yeah, so you have to go with the browser, with Firefox, with Google, sorry, and you can go to it. So I've been practicing with them how to compile these samples, and they say, okay, if you're crazy enough to use the Wacom resource compiler, you need to put that, okay? Because I say, I want to try open source. First I tried the IBM resource compiler, everything was working, and say, no, I want to push it harder. Let's try our resource compiler, it's open source. Okay, if you want to use it, use this. I don't know if it's documented somewhere. Well, it's now documented on the samples that I made, but I don't know if it is documented. If someone is documented the open source Wacom resource compiler, I have no further information about that. There is a phone here, but it's not mine. Oh, okay. Just in case.
I don't know whose phone it is.
Okay.
Alex, is that your phone?
Is it an iPhone in a leather case?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes.
Oh, it doesn't have the Apple logo.
No, they don't. Well, the case is
It
probably
has,
not.
but
I think it's high.
sorry.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah, sure.
What's with all that old EMX stuff? Is that totally obsolete and you would never want to use it, or what's the deal with that, if anybody knows?
Yeah, I personally have no idea about
Okay.
EMX. I think that EMX evolved to what we call like libc.
KLibC
Yeah.
and stuff, okay.
So when I run this, I don't care about EMX. Greg, just go ahead. I think you want to say something.
A lot of EMX tools are still used with GCC. They're in the libc developer kit.
Okay.
So if you go onto, once you've got it installed, if you go in, you'll find a bunch of EMX something .exes in there, which are part of what's used in building stuff with GCC.
So
Okay.
like LD talks to that
Okay.
linker from EMX, which in turn talks to the one you configured.
Yeah, I think that when you install Bean utils, you're installing some stuff from the EMX. But I don't know. I don't know if it should be called EMX or it's like the libc that have everything there. I'm not sure how
Because
it's.
EMX is an option to install, like that is really confusing.
Yeah.
Well, EMX is both an environment, it's got its own libraries and stuff. It was the original port of the GCC. It went up to like version 2.8 or something like that.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, Yeah, no, I know all that.
There was a version 3.
But it's been
Version 3.
superseded, and why is it in there? Like, why? Because I installed it by accident, not knowing, and then stuff didn't work, and.
Well, there are still applications you can run, like go get them from Hobbs or whatever, but there's supported with EMX, and you have to use the EMX libraries for those to work.
Yeah,
So,
the runtime still gets installed on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when you compile these samples with GCC and from the one that you grab from the RPM server, you no longer generate an executable that depends on the EMX runtime. It depends on libc now.
Yeah.
So when I grab like an old software and with PMDLL, I check the DLLs that it used. If it requires EMX.DLL, I think is the runtime, say, oh, this is old. Yeah. Okay. Well, not that well. Well, old from the 90s, 2000, yeah. Not that old. We're not that old. Okay. So, something that the millennials are forgetting about are the licensing. Okay, when it's open source, it's like they don't care anymore about the license, and licensing is a thing that is very important because it sets the rules of how you can use that software. So, everything should have a license. That doesn't mean it should have a cost. It's just the rules of how you can use this source code. Even that I'm a fan of the GNU GPL because of the snowballing effect. Is that a word, right? It's like something that gets bigger with time. For samples, for development samples, I prefer a more liberal license that allow you to have like more choice. Because if you use GNU GPL, you can only go forward and everything will be open source from that point to the future. But in this case, I prefer the 3-clause BSD license when you can choose, or anybody can say, okay, the derivative work can be open or can be closed, okay? So that's just a rule that I set for these samples, and they have license, okay? And the make file, oh, you can read it, that's good. It looks good. Here I cannot read it at all.
Oh.
Okay, this was like the main part of the thing that complicates me the most. The make file is something that you create once, you learn once, and you just leave it there. So there is no like there's no more like nurturing to the make file. It's like since you created once and it keeps working, it's not like everybody is saying how to create the best make file, what is suggested, or is there a standard? Yes, there is just documented, but this is really, for me, was a complication to understand it, and it's not sequential. Sorry, I'm going to go here. It's not like sequential. It's like here on the make file you say, okay, I'm going to produce this executable file. Okay, it's an exe file. Then how do you produce the exe file? Oh, you have to combine the object file, the definition file, the resource file, and how do you do that? Oh, you have to compile all these files and generate the exe file. But you have to include the resource file later. But when you compile the object file is not created yet. It's created down here. So I don't understand it because it's not like a sequential thing. Okay? So I guess that when you say you require the object file, I guess it goes here and says from this C file that exists, generate the object file. Okay? And the resource file that is generated from the .rc file, that is the text file, gets generated right here. So it's not like sequential, right? And you have the clean statement at the end that when you execute make clean, you erase the files just to keep compiling them, okay? So that's the only complication that I have with a make file that is not like sequential for me, but well, everybody says that's how it works. And
Those are called targets, those things
Yeah.
on the left of the colon.
okay,
And the default one is all, if you
Yeah.
don't specify anything. So it then looks at that and it says, oh, I want to build that exe. Now it then looks for the exe as a target to see what it depends on, and it iterates that way through the file. And I don't
Yeah.
believe they have to be in any particular order.
yeah, they don't have to be in any particular order, but that's how the make file works, okay? And on the other side, you can see like the files that are on the Git repository, that are the text files that generate executables, okay? And also for running the make file, I had this, I was helped to understand that you have to run make, and it runs, but you need the output so you can read on the file the errors, the warnings. So you grab like the, how do you call it, std in, std out. That's how you take it out and you put it to the file called make.out. And after all that, you got your executable file. After fixing all the compiling errors and compiling and the warnings, okay? So that's the procedure. So, here I have some issues. So some of the problems, some of the pitfalls that compiling warnings may appear. Some are easy to fix, some others don't. That's where I got my help on the OS2 World Forum. They really helped me a lot, saying, oh, this means that you're missing this function, this means you're missing this stuff. It really helped me out. And since I was trying to change the source code to compile without errors, without warnings with GCC, maybe it will got break from the original compiler. So what it means, so if I grab all source code and I made it work with GCC, maybe it will no longer compile with the old, what was the Microsoft compiler, CL?
C6.
Yeah, and there was a compiler called cl.exe that was from Microsoft to compile C source code. So it maybe will not longer work or if someone wants to say, okay, I want to compile it again with OS2 1.3, maybe it will not compile. So I saved, on the GitHub, I saved the old version and I saved the new version just in case someone wants to do some retro programming with OS2, okay? And some samples were too old and I was not able to compile them. There were 16-bit samples and I was not able to compile it with a 32-bit compiler because there was needs too much change on the source code, okay? So some things were easy to bring from the 16-bit world to the 32-bit world, and some things were requiring more work. Okay? And some of the samples require more specific tools, more specific libraries. I didn't go further on that on this experiment. I just grabbed like some of the more basic samples that use Dive, that use GPI for graphics, but not these ones. So let's go with the samples. Here's a basic sample of a presentation manager window. Very, very basic. There is the GitHub address. Then I went forward trying to make, okay, this is the same sample, almost the same sample, but with well, this is called the application template, when you can use it for different presentation manager applications, and now they have the menu that says file, edit, help. So it keeps going. This is a more elaborated sample when you have like several options, and and when you select the option, it shows the number on the main screen. Okay, very basic samples. This sample is also a presentation manager samples that shows you, yes, the menu bar and an extra standard action buttons bar on the top. Yeah, that's also very nice. And this is more like a container with icons inside. It's a different sample from those ages, okay? And this is a notebook sample, like the days of Warp 3 used to have like the tabs on the, it will be in your right, in the right, okay, and has like 2 text areas and some buttons. And what is kind of interesting is that you can grab these samples to turn it into an application and play with that, okay? It can be, like I say on the licensing, since I choose the BSD license, it can be open source, it can be closed source, it depends on what you want to do. This is a sample with sliders from the IBM Developer Connection, okay? So it's like the sliders and it can change the color according to the values of the slider, okay? Another sample of a slider. Okay, also code, everything was here compiled with GCC. And we have like a more complex window template examples with different things, buttons, text box, radio buttons, everything is also in this sample for you to check it out. This is also a very nice sample about frames on the window, and the little cat there is also an animation that you can press the cat and it starts a little animation with like 5 icons, okay? And when you choose the blue text and you change it to different colors, it will change the color of the text. Very also very basic sample, but it's like very nice for someone that is learning presentation manager. This is a jigsaw sample. I think this sample came from the 16-bit days, if I don't get it wrong. It's like basic sample. It keeps working. It works on GCC and 32 bits. It worked. Well, usually you have to check the compiling warnings and check. Oh, this is 16-bit. Change the. Sorry, I see it very basic, but it changed. Oh, it says short. Change it for long. That's this jump from 16 bits to 32. It was short. Now it's long. Okay. That's the variable size. This is like playing with graphics. This is using GPI, some GPI functions to make some graphics and different kind of drawing on the board. And this is like the charts, samples, you just click it and a pie shows up, or right click and shows like half pie. This is also a little sample of GPI to how do you generate this kind of graphics, okay? And the classic Hanoi Tower. Sorry, it is very small, but it was, I guess this was also from the old days. The classic Hanoi Tower that gets solved, and it's very small because of the resolution of those days. Okay. And you have this is also very the air traffic control sample. This is like I guess this sample, I'm not sure if it came from IBM when let's try to graphic some airplanes and how do you see it on the radar, and just to simulate a business application about airports, okay? So this is also a sample that compiled without issues. And this is a sample that has some problems. This is a honeycomb and a honey that is flying over there. Sorry, no, not a honey. Honey doesn't fly. The bee that is flying there. Okay. And this is the bee. I don't know if you can see it. It has some issues. The sample with yeah.
Are these, were these created at the time when IBM was still working with Microsoft? Are they that old?
Yes.
Yes.
This was before the split.
I built some of these with the Microsoft C compiler.
Yeah. Some of those are very old samples, and well, I guess this was what newer.
Yeah.
But some are 16-bit samples that with the compiler, the GCC compiler really good. I think it makes a good job telling you that, are you sure you're using this function? It should be this one. And when you get the function, oh, this function is old. And it needs to suggest you to change to the function that replaces that old function. So I think it makes a decent job telling you this is old, try the new stuff. And it just shows as a warning. It compiles, it works, but it shows you as a warning. And so GCC, I think, makes a very decent job telling you, oh, this is old. You mean this function? Oh, yes. Okay, so the bee should be flying over there and it bounces, but it shows like some dots because some problems with the BMP graphics. Okay.
I know we're getting short on time, so.
Okay. No, it's not much. It's just the final words.
That's okay. That's okay.
This is also a very nice sample of putting some text on the presentation manager and changing the text with different styles, different fonts. Also very nice sample. And this is more like an animation, like some waves with GPI and some fireworks. But this is a sample to use 2 threads in a drawing application, but it's very nice. Yeah. And this one, Lars helped me to compile this one because it has some issues on the source code. It's like it's like a game of cellular duplication and automation. It's very hypnotic, very LSD, I think. Okay, to just watch that. It's very nice samples. Okay, so this is just ending up. This is the list of samples that I compiled. There are more, yeah, but it's just for you to download the presentation later and just check it out. I try to include a picture of every sample, so you can. On the 90s, we didn't put any pictures on the documentation. We didn't put anything, so it's the first time someone takes a picture of these samples and put it somewhere. Okay, this is more samples and more samples. Okay, this is more for you to check out and try to compile and see. Oh, this looks nice. I'm going to try to run an application. And after all that sample, I say, okay, it's time to man up. Yeah, let's try my own port. Basically, well, the developer of the game did everything, and Dave also helped me a lot with the make file, but I was able to compile these 2 little games, Rocks and Diamonds and Mirror Magic, and upload it to Hubs and say, I'm the porter, even that Dave did all the hard work of the make file, and the original developer, but it was like a nice moment for me to finally say, okay, I ported something, I make the README file, and I upload it to Hubs, okay? And special thanks to Dave Yale, Lars Herman, and Rich Walsh. They were holding there with me on the forum, helping me with this, learning this stuff, okay, about how to compile these very old things on our latest GCC compiler. Okay, and some final note. This effort was only to try to educate myself more about the OS2 development environment and learning the building procedure. Okay, it was not actually to create something new. Okay, and I really like to invite everyone that wants to do some software development to check out the samples, try to compile the samples, to feel more comfortable with the development environment, because it was very hostile some years ago, trying to find, oh, Visual Age, which version of Visual Age? Oh, Visual Age 3 is good, Visual Age 4 sucks. What should I use? And so finally it's just one command, GCC, jump, install everything, and try to simple the things, or try to make a more simple experience, no? And it was nice and fun as a learning experience for me, okay? And as I always say, since I run an online community, I always end with this. Remember that sometimes when we get too much expertise, like we get cocky, we get like, oh, why are you asking that? It's so basic. Let's remember for the online interactions, the will written words, okay? That's how I always put in the end of my presentation. So we run out of time. I don't know if there are any other questions, or yes, Jeff.
Yeah, so looking historically, but also to the present period, in the time when these things were done, particularly OS2, how would people learn to code at the very beginning? Okay, so then it was simple. It was just DOS, and it became OS2. And then so in that time, how would people have learned these things?
I can tell you.
Yeah, well, I have one more question.
Yeah.
And in the present time, okay, there's a multiplicity of systems. For people, you know, I'm an 18-year-old. I'm looking forward to the future. You know, you can learn to code Linux, you can learn to code OS2, you can learn to code Windows, then there's an Apple variant. You know, how do people these days who are 18 years old, where do they learn these kinds of things? Because this is
Well,
hard stuff.
The first part of the question, when you install the OS2 toolkit, there's a complete set of documentation for development on OS2.
You mean people have to read stuff?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
terrible.
Because it was easy, you know, he had people he could call on. Now, there's this enormous base of people who know these things. But in the early days, how did, they actually had to read manuals
Yeah.
and books and instructions?
Yeah, and I worked with people who also worked, so you know, you could ask, these days, like this thing about this website,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's well. Remember the old days. There was the toolkit on diskettes on a CD.
And how did you get the
and-
toolkit?
and-
IBM gave it away or you had to buy it?
I'm not sure about the past. I guess that the basic toolkit was available,
I wanna say about the past.
and later it what?
I
Sorry.
wanna say this about the past.
Yeah, yeah.
When I first joined an organization using OS2 to program, you know, a commercial product,
Yes.
everyone who had, I got there and everyone had just gotten back from Microsoft University, where they learned to program for OS2.
And how did you do that?
You went to Redmond, you paid
You paid money,
Yeah.
$3,000 per student,
which was real money.
yeah. And went to Microsoft University in Redmond.
And
learned
how
to
long was
program.
it? A month?
No, a week or
2
two.
weeks.
A week or two?
Yeah. But
Okay.
today, but today, well, things has changed. We got the permission from IBM to republish the documentation from the toolkit online. I got that permission.
Okay, but the IBM toolkit,
Yeah.
so how did you get that? You come back from Redmond,
It
then
hadn't been written for years. I mean, this is from
No, but-
Microsoft.
Like if you
Well,
got,
this was originally a joint product. the
yeah,
tool-
but if
Yeah.
you got the compiler, the IBM compiler, you got the
Yeah.
toolkit with it.
But you had to pay $3,000 to go to
No,
Redmond.
no, that was, his is much later.
More past,
When you,
more
when
the
you
past.
wanted to program some of these original samples, you went to Microsoft, who wrote the samples and wrote the compiler and wrote all the tools, and you got it from them.
They gave it free.
No,
No.
no, it was, on top of the 3,000 for the university, you probably paid a few $1,000s per seat for the toolkit.
And the people who did that had already graduated from college or something, looking for a career, or these?
They were already hired by the company and,
I see, okay, so
Probably
you had a
DOS
job
programmers.
and they said you have to learn how to do this.
yeah, probably already DOS programmers, and had probably already gone to university and learned on a mainframe.
I'm thinking, okay, so let's talk about today. You're an 18-year-old, and you know what am I gonna do with my life? They're not gonna be, so all the stuff is available basically free online now then. If
Now-
you-
now
if you're
it's
obsessed with this,
yeah, the
you can learn
samples-
it.
YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah, big
Yeah.
problem is if you take a Linux system and you've got stuff like AutoConf, etc. My boyfriend Jeroen started doing some stuff on Linux, on OS2. And he's completely vetted in Linux, writes kernel modules, the whole thing, writes Qt stuff on Windows. But what you simply see, he's 52 years old, he's used to legacy systems. But as I'll tell you tomorrow in my presentation, there is indeed, even for a vetted programmer like him on OS2, there's a learning curve. And one of them is that basically, and there's no pun intended to anybody, our toolchain compared to Linux and FreeBSD or other platforms is simply broken. It's in an awful lot of pieces, legacy stuff, scripts supporting to glue it together. And that's where the
Is lunch
learning
next
curve
or
is
is
right away.
out
You have
here?
little
Yeah,
bits and pieces.
Just
from
for
it.
what it's
waiting
Yes,
for. It's a
but
nightmare.
but it's simply a lack of resources to get it all.
Yeah.
New developers running around. And that's where the learning curve is at. What tool and
I'm done,
stuff
just-
like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, let's
Okay.
Wants to say something.
But
go on to lunch.
Yeah, it's time for lunch because
Yeah. We have to get back.
otherwise our afternoon sessions will run late.
thank you very much. I will
Okay, so
take
what time
questions
is it?
later.
One, it's one, not two.
Thank you, Mark.